there, Dance Studio owner. It's Clint Salty here, founder of the Dance Studio Owners Association. Welcome to 2020. Great to have you with us. And over the next 6 weeks, I'm bringing you a brand new series where I've actually been interviewed by the incredible Lauren Ritchie from the Dance Podcast. Now, in these 6 episodes, we're going to talk about everything from feeling relevant now in the fast-moving pace with technology, how to be an authentic leader, what happens when you feel complacent in your business and you're kind of just tracking along and you kind of don't want anything else, how to get that motivation and edge. We're going to talk about disrupting the norm and how do you stand out from all of the other dance studios that are in your local area. We talk about expectations of yourself, of your team members, how to get the most out of your team, and also how to not be fearful of other people's opinions and to make sure that you are running your dance studio and nobody else is. It's an incredible, wide-ranging conversation Lauren and I are having over these next 6 weeks, and I am so excited to share it with you. Before we get into it, we have also opened the doors to our Inner Circle program where my team and I work closely with a group of studio owners. If you want more details on that program, go to dsoa.com/inner circle. Now let's get on with the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Transform My Dance Studio. My name is Lauren Ritchie, and I have had the pleasure of interviewing and working with Clint on the Dance Podcast many times. And we always finished our conversations with like, man, I think we could go on and on and on for hours together. And so we thought it would be an incredible opportunity to turn the tables and get Clint really, really diving deep into some subjects that we are hoping are rooted in inspiration and discovery and application, knowing that all of these brilliant ideas and thoughts and opinions, they don't mean much unless you can actually bring them into your business and apply the work and the philosophies around it. So I am honored and so grateful. Thank you, Clint, for letting me come and hijack Transform My Dance Studio.
Lauren, it's an absolute pleasure. And like you said, every time we talk, I'm like, I just feel like we could talk for like 10 more hours, and now we get to talk for more hours and dive deeper into these subjects that we're both so passionate about. And what I love is that what we're talking about isn't something that I talk a lot about on this podcast or with our members. We're really kind of shifting from going from the tactical, how to grow your business, how to get more students. And we're talking about the things that really matter if you want to sustain success and live a purposeful, filled life. So this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I thought that we would start with something that it has tugged on my heartstrings over the past few years. But even more importantly, I see it in the studio owners and fellow faculty members all of the time. And it is this idea of aging in our industry. And to anyone who's really made teaching their vocation, you've stayed in the game long enough to feel not only your body age, but even your own wisdom and expertise shift. Yeah. And then once social media came in, it became even more about this feeling of like staying relevant, knowing that there's so much hype online, and sometimes we don't feel the need to or the want to, or maybe feel like we don't or can't stay up with all of the crazy trends that are happening so fast. So I'm wondering, knowing that you speak to so many business owners and teachers, has this ever come up for you in some of your inner circle moments or some of your coaching calls where people are feeling that sort of negotiation of aging?
Yes. Oh my goodness. And even myself, this I think is a natural evolution that happens to all of us. And I think the first thing that I always talk about is acceptance that we are not the same person that we were 10 years ago or really even 10 minutes ago. We are always shifting. We are always growing. Things are always changing. And so I think sometimes we have a necessity to cling to what was. I remember that time. I do it now when I'm at my retreats and I like bend down at the table and I'm like on my knees, and then I go to get up and I'm like, oh my goodness, like what is happening to my body? And we all laugh because we've all been on the floor and done floor work and we've been like, I don't know if I can get up. Mm-hmm. And so, but the great thing is that we are changing, and I think accepting that is life is so important. And also that we're stepping into something else that is going to be like our thing at that time, right? I believe that we have so many chapters, and we have even more chapters now in life. We are living till we are old, right? We are living till we're old. I heard something yesterday. It's like women are living till they're going to live till they're 110, like women who are now in like their teens and their early 20s are going to live to 110 or something. So, I mean, we have so many different chapters in our life. I remember when I was teaching tap. So I had my dance studio. I was a really great tapper, and I taught tap for many years. And I remember one year teaching tap, and I was like, I'm really over this, right? I'm actually really over it. And that was also a mix of feeling of like, I'm not keeping up. I don't know what's cool anymore. I haven't been going to classes. And I was more focused on the growth of the business than I was on perfecting my art of being a great tap teacher. And after about 6 months of resistance, my business partner, Kelly Lee, and I were talking, and I was telling her how I was feeling. And she was like, Clint, like, let's bring in a teacher that can take that class. And I was like, yes, like let's do that. And that was one of the first times that highlighted for me that I don't need to be the person. I don't need to be the one that, that's fine. I don't need to be the one that is doing everything.
Hey, come.
We're used to dogs and babies. That's fine.
Sorry. So sorry. Okay. Let's take two.
And I think, it's so funny. I was taking a coaching call today, and we were talking about social media and running Instagram accounts. And our studio owners were like, Clint, I don't know how it works. I don't really care how it works. I'm not a millennial who wants to document everything that I'm doing in my life. And I was like, the great thing is you don't have to be that person. There are other people out there that can run these areas of your business or help you run areas of your life that are experts. And so we don't need to do that anymore. I've seen a little resistance with some of our studio owners that we work with, where we're really helping them step into the CEO role, which means doing less teaching. It's not cutting out teaching, because I'm a fan of doing the things that bring you joy. So if you're teaching 1 or 2 or 3 classes a week that are bringing you joy, I want you to continue doing those classes. But if you ever walk into a class and there's some resentment, or I could be doing something better than my time, or most importantly, there's someone better that could be taking this class and giving our students a better experience, I don't want you in the classroom. And one of our members was saying, I feel a little sad when I don't feel like I'm the person wanted anymore. Like, I'm not like that Miss Jenny. They're not calling out, they're not wanting Miss Jenny to take the class anymore. And that's a transition to deal with 100%, because there is grief in that process. That is not feeling like you are wanted, but you're wanted in a different way. And your purpose then is to lead and guide your faculty and your team members into a new place, into a place where they are better, and that becomes your role.
I'm so happy you shared that, because I feel like that process, if you've stayed in it long enough, you've probably felt it, because you started as the young, cool teacher, and then there's new young, cool teachers coming.
Right. And then they can get off the floor and you can't,
But what's fascinating to me is when you talk about, what brings you joy, be in those spaces that bring you joy.
Mm.
I right away, the fact that you said those two things so closely together, I'm like, oh, but if you're rooted in your joy and you're working in your joy, they will be loving you for that, whatever that
Yes.
is. And so it might
Yes.
not be the coolest choreo anymore, but you probably have gifts and joys that they will be attracted to or love and appreciate.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as well, when we move a bit away from validation of others to validating ourselves and being so in love with just what we're doing day to day, that external piece does shift away. It was like me this morning. I was writing this morning and I was loving it. And I was like, oh, and then I went to the gym and I was like, oh, I really love this morning's writing exercises that I did. Like I just had like the best time, and that will never go anywhere. No one will ever read it. Right. So it's not for validation. It's a process that just brings me joy. And so I think we do seek validation when maybe we're doing things that aren't in our zone of genius or that are our thing anymore, because fear comes up that like, I'm kind of winging this, or I'm not that hip person anymore, or I don't really know what I'm doing here. And so that's when we can kind of seek external validation during those times. But I'm a big believer when you're like in your thing and you're loving it, there's that feeling doesn't come from anything else.
Yeah. And I even go to that space of, there's so much that older, and I'm putting like quotes around older,
30s.
not sure what that means anymore, but there's so many things that older teachers do love and value that I think if they want to share that, a love of Fosse, or like, doing dance education from like, where is jazz dance like rooted in and what's the history of it, I think that there's ways that you can still introduce it and make it fun, and it's your thing, and it's probably not the younger choreographer's thing.
Exactly. I mean, there is so much, there's so much wisdom that only comes with being on the planet for a good amount of time. And no, young upcoming person will be able to impart that wisdom and knowledge you have. I mean, we're all on such individual, unique journeys, right, through life. No one can bring into the classroom or to our faculty or to our business what we do. It is so unique. And we just need to keep sharing the stuff that lights us up and the things that light us up that also provide so much value to our communities.
Yeah. Something you also mentioned is this idea of fear. And what I've noticed with some of my fellow colleagues and teachers, their self-talk starts to change about where their value is or where their role is, or the things that they do have to offer. And I'm curious, on some of your coaching calls, do you approach this shift in perspective and sort of this self-talk situation that we have?
Yeah. Look, I think especially in the work we do in the inner circle, because we are taking people from dance teacher. Yes, they're a business owner, but they still very much have the mindset and the mentality of a dance teacher. And we've got to shift them and bridge the gap between dance teacher to CEO. And so much of their identity is wrapped around being that dance teacher, being that creative person, because they've been it all their life. I've gone through this, many versions of it, from dancer to dance teacher. And so sometimes when you make that transition, you're like, well, I didn't make it as a dancer. I couldn't get that job I wanted. And now I'm here teaching. And so there's an identity that you had or thought you were going to have, and that has now shifted. We tend to forget that one, but a lot of us go through that one. We then have the dance teacher identity or dancer identity, and we have to move into studio owner identity. And that's a huge different one as well that we've got to wrestle with. And that's the thing, we are going to wrestle with it. And it might take us a little while to start learning and leaning into this new identity that we are creating for ourselves. But at the end of the day, identity is who we are, not what we do. And so I think when we can come back to that, we can kind of chill out a bit about the whole, well, this is who I am and this is all I know. The amount of times I hear that from people like, but Clint, this is all I know. Like, I don't know how to read my P&L and I don't know how to do a Facebook ad. And I was like, yes, you don't know that now. Like, you don't know that today, but that doesn't have to stay the same. And so that resistance around change, we all have it to varying levels. But the idea is that we can be open to learn and we can be open to moving into new spaces and new roles and taking on new responsibilities as time moves forward. And we're not going to get everything like right away. I'm currently working with our new Inner Circle members. It's their first week, and I love the first week because it is, they've just taken this step and this commitment to like up-level their lives and their studio. And so these first questions that I get when they start hearing around like, you can't be everything and we're going to build a team for you and we're going to start introducing new systems and processes. And it's like fear, scared, I kind of want to vomit, but I'm really excited all at the same time, and I love seeing the start of the transformation.
Mm-hmm. The part about our industry that is just probably inevitable, we're a very female dominant industry.
Yes.
Babies. Having babies, I noticed not only, it dictates a lot of that shift that happens on a personal identity level. It also can be tricky for the studio director who is mentoring and helping and supporting their faculty as they transition into a new role in their life, and probably even within their studio walls. And I'm wondering, do you have any advice for studio directors who have, some faculty constantly sort of shifting into motherhood, or even with the amount that they can give to the studio, I think changes a lot if you have babies.
Yeah, I personally never had a baby myself, but we just had we had 3 births in the last 3 weeks inside the Inner Circle with our members, which is so exciting, and they're adorable, and so I can speak to the piece of what I see when a studio owner has a child and how that shifts and changes. And also, yes, when they're faculty members, as you mentioned, it's a 92% female-led industry. A lot of our teachers are females and they will go on and have children and get married and grow families and maybe move out of town or maybe come back after they've gone on maternity leave, all those types of things. From the studio owner's perspective, there's something called the baby effect, and I love it because part of having a baby is, obviously the joy that the baby brings you and your family and raising a beautiful, hopefully resilient human being, but it makes you really think about your priorities. And when people are preparing, I love it when someone says I'm pregnant because I'm like, right, and it's their first child. I'm like, we are going to get a plan together so that your studio can continue to grow and flourish without you having to be feeding the baby sitting at the desk at the office, right? Like that is the goal. That is the goal. And so that is a really exciting time to essentially stress test your business, right? Because you have been able to live there and be there for like 12 hours a day. Your husband or partner has been very understanding around that and they're happy to see you Saturday night for date night. Otherwise, they don't see you for the rest of the week. But when you have a baby, you have a responsibility and a new priority into your life. And so you've got to get really good around your systems, your processes, coaching your team members, setting boundaries, setting clear expectations, being able to hold people accountable. It's really just a lesson in leadership, right? That's what having a baby is in your dance studio. It is a lesson in leadership. but yes, dealing with your team members that have babies. And what I love is my team often laugh because we have a lot of mums that work for us at DSOA. And I love it because it's so in tune to our amazing customers, our studio owners that we serve, right? Very similar values to our studio owners. And I love supporting. We often laugh because there's at least nearly in every call that I take, there's some child running around, with no clothes on or waking up out of bed or, eating chocolate or like the television's up super loud so we can't hear anything. There's always stuff going on. And I think that's really lovely. But it's a shock when one of our teachers says, hey, I'm going to be having a baby in, 6 months and I am teaching 25 hours a week at the studio. Right? Very scary. And so it is important, the way that you combat that is you don't want to heavily rely on one teacher to be teaching all of your classes. Really important. I know in some areas it is tricky to find teachers, but you want to be consistently advertising for a pool of teachers. You want to always have a good pool of subs. One of our great members, Jody in LA, she taught me a lot around this because in LA, you've got to have a big pool of subs because everyone's going to a job or traveling or whatever it might be. And so she talks to me about how she did subs. And I was like, you know what? This isn't just for LA. Every dance studio should build a list of subs and be constantly advertising for teachers because you don't ever know what might happen. And the other thing is you want to make sure that you are bringing the best teachers into your studio to provide your students and parents with a fantastic experience. So you don't want to just advertise when you need someone. That's like you're too late at that point, right? You want to be consistently advertising because you never know when that person is going to be like, oh, hey, I've just come back to town. I'm looking for teaching. I saw your advert pop up. You're the first person they go to. So you want to do that to try and help if there is a circumstance where someone needs to take leave or essentially leaves and steps out of the studio. So you're not left. I've seen this happen a lot. You are not left as the studio owner having to go back in and take those 25 hours of classes. When you've just extracted yourself out over the last 12 months, you've transitioned out of teaching so many hours, you're working on the business, you have more time with your family, you're happier, your business is growing, you're making more money, and then you're sucked back into the day-to-day because you don't have anyone to cover those classes.
Mm-hmm. I never even thought about that. About like the owner having to take them on.
Oh yeah, it has happened more times than I would like to admit, but it happens.
Wow. Okay, I love that babies are priorities. Like just that gateway and that yellow brick road into paving your priorities. We talked about getting off the floor ever since.
Well, and sometimes not being able to get off the floor.
I had that happen to the extreme a couple days ago, and I was just, oh, yeah, it's not the same. So I'm wondering, I know that with studio owners and dance teachers, often it is hard to find time to go to the class for inspiration or get your workouts in or start to have to develop a new workout routine given that you are going to need different things at different stages of your body. I do think this is a human thing as much as a dance teacher thing.
Oh yeah, totally.
But I'm wondering if you have advice or you've seen some studio owners do it really well, that sort of prioritization of physical health and safety, really. At this point, it's safety, it's injury prevention.
Right. It's injury prevention on those like poor knees, right? Or back totally. Or any other body part that gets injured during our dancing years. Yeah. So the ones that I've seen that do really well do have a morning routine. There's a great book, The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. Rob Sharman has the 5 a.m. club. You can read about so many things on morning routines. Now, it got sexy about 2 years ago. I think and it doesn't need to be 3 hours, like the 3 hour morning routine. I mean, who has time for that? let's just get up, let's get moving, let's get something in our brain that is going to inspire and motivate us to be, as good as we can be during the day. Those people that have encompassed that into their mornings generally do well, are more resilient, have good persistence, have better energy. And so it might look like, because with the mums, I always go, well, Clint, I've got, 5 kids, or I've got 2 kids and I'm getting them ready. And, for those parents, we've workshopped a couple of different things. We've workshopped getting up early, leaving the husband in bed or partner in bed, get up early and go and, sit on the Peloton bike or get on the exercise bike and pedal for like 20 minutes, break a sweat, get the endorphins going, do some type of movement, right? Because the other thing is, movement, most of us have probably been dancers, and movement makes us very happy. I have found that although I think this could be challenged, but not every human has been used to moving and that making them happy. A lot of people have to move or go to the gym or whatever, but it doesn't necessarily like make them happy. They're not into it. But we're really lucky because we have danced and we have sweated it out and we've exercised in a way that brings us immense joy. And so, it's tricky when we're like, okay, now we got to get on a bike or we got to run on the treadmill, and it's not the most joyous thing to do. So we're always about where can you find joy in moving your body again? And that might be going to a dance class where like nobody knows you. So there's like no pressure. I remember when I went back to class, and I was like, I got to go somewhere where like nobody knows me, right? Because I just had that feeling of like judgment against myself, and I've got to be a certain person that I used to be. And I was like, I'm not that person anymore. I don't move that way anymore. But I know the joy that it brings me. So going somewhere where you can be anonymous and just be your best self in the class is a really great idea. And part of what I mentioned before was, feeding your brain something that is going to get you on the best path to move forward in your day, for me, is really crucial. So that whether that's watching something on YouTube while I'm at the gym or listening to a podcast that can get me in the right state of mind. I've never been someone that's consumed news ever. I just have never been into it. I used to have dinner with my friend back in Sydney, and every week she used to give me like the 5-minute rundown of what's happening in the world. And like that was before Facebook and stuff. And that was like totally enough. And so I'm very much into feeding my mind with those things that are going to lift me up. Because guys, as studio owners, it sometimes is rough. Like you're like, I don't want to do this today. Can I just do the barista job today? Because like, I don't want to do the dance studio owner job. I do not want to do it. And so we've constantly, it's like having a shower. We shower every day to get clean. Part of showering, part of that routine for me is like listen to something, read something, watch something that is going to put me in the best state of mind possible. Do I run around the day, thinking of roses and, pretty puppies and like everything's going fine? No, but it gets me in a state that will ensure that I hopefully can push through any challenges that come my way. So mornings, I have found that mornings are the best time. I've seen it with our inner circle members as well. Mornings are the best time to, fuel yourself in every way.
I also love that you said just sit on the Peloton bike. Maybe that's the goal, is just to sit on it, because as research shows, when you just sit on it, there's a good chance you're going to start pedaling, and then it keeps going.
Right.
But super small action that sets you in that direction of just physical.
That's all it is. Put your clothes on, sit on the bike, and you're like, well, I might as well pedal now.
And then the dancer part of you kicks in and is like,
and then you're like on the bike, and then you're thinking, I could be better than this trainer. I could do that, and then you're into it. Then you're into it.
Totally. I don't know if you've heard about it, but recently I've been playing on that Obey Fitness because it has a lot of dance cardio classes.
Oh, I haven't seen it. It's
an app, sort of like a subscription-based app, but it's one of the few that have sort of dance cardio or, those kind of fun dance hit type.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So that one's for me has been, if you don't have that in your area, because New York has so many great ones, but
Right.
a lot of other places don't. And so that one's been fun for me too. So, well, I love it. We have covered the transitions of our job roles. We've talked about babies and bodies.
all of my zones of genius, babies and bodies.
I love it. If people want to have more of you, any more resources that you could offer, where's the best place to go?
Yeah, so everyone listening who is a studio owner, come and visit us, dsoa.com, Dance Studio Owners Association. We have so many great free resources for you on the website, from growing your enrollments to becoming a better leader. You'll find the links to all of our podcast episodes and immerse yourself in that. And then when you're ready to join us for training and our live events, I'd love to welcome you to look into applying for the Inner Circle, and all those details are on the website.
Fantastic. Thank you again for letting me join, Clint.
Thanks so much, Lauren. Great conversation. Thank you so much for listening to our episode today of the Transform My Dance Studio podcast. Now, if you'd love to work with me and my team in an incredible group of studio owners from all around the globe, I want to encourage you to check out our Inner Circle program. Just go to dsoa.com/Inner Circle and apply today to work with us. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. Take care and bye for now.